Okay, how's everybody doing this evening? Of course, my name is Kent, and I want to make another Cornhusker football video as I wait for my son's results from Tahiti. He's actually fighting UFC fight in Tahiti, and I'm waiting for the results. He's like 4 hours behind us, 3 hours behind us actually. So he's fighting the fight. Hopefully, should be over here pretty soon, and I'll get the results. But they have no live stream because it's in Tahiti, and Tahiti's a French country, so they don't have any live feed here in the United States. So I got to wait for the results. But anyway, I want to talk tonight about Casey Thompson, the quarterback from the University of Nebraska. And I wish I had an opportunity to talk to Casey, because I think leaving Nebraska is a huge mistake. Not necessarily going into the portal, because if you go into the portal, you kind of get an idea, what else is out there. But leaving Nebraska and going to another school, I think, would be a huge mistake for Casey. A lot of people say that they saw this coming. I can't imagine anybody seeing this coming, basically because of the fact there's another quarterback by the name of Jeff Sims, who seems to be the favorite of the coaches and Matt Rule. But Casey Thompson has given quite a bit of good play for the University of Nebraska and quite a bit of play for University of Texas, two major programs. So he's got a pretty good body of work to look at for anybody that wants. And of course, if he wants to go on to the pros or go into coaching, he's got a lot of things to already see. He doesn't need to play another year of college football to show what he can do. He's already shown what he can do. He can do quite a bit. And unless he has a Joe Burrow type of year, where he goes someplace and just has the Cinderella year and wins the national championships and the Heisman, I just don't see him bettering himself in the draft. I mean, he's done what he's done. He is what he is. And, if he plays a secondary role at Nebraska this year, I would think that would be the best place he could be. That'd be the best place I could want to be, is the second place or second string quarterback at the University of Nebraska right now, because as everybody knows, everybody loves a second string quarterback, especially when the first string quarterback messes up. And of course, Jeff Sims sounds like he's going to be a running quarterback, or mostly kind of run quite a bit. So the chances of Jeff Sims making it through an entire season mistake-free, not making costly turnovers or bad interceptions, and injury-free are slim to none. So Casey's got a chance to get some time in this year as a quarterback for the University of Nebraska and display what he has to show. And I mean, I think the main reason he wants to play this year is just to show that his injury, his shoulder injury, has healed, and that he'd be a good pro prospect. And I think he can do that as a second string quarterback at the University of Nebraska and not get beat up like he's gotten beat up the last few years, like he got beat up at Texas and like he got beat up at the University of Nebraska. Now, if you watch the spring game, and I haven't made any videos during this time because I've been listening to everybody else's videos, and I love the guys like the backseat sports guys. I mean, they kind of call it like it is, and of course they say right off that the problem is the offensive line, and of course they've been saying that for a long time. They go to PFF. I don't know anything about PFF, but I guess there's some statistics where you can actually rank the football player and their play and how many times they give up a sack, or how many times they do this or how many do that. And these guys are really good at doing that. And of course Matt Rule can downplay it all he wants. He can say it's not the offensive line, but you have to look at the numbers, and the numbers say that the offensive line gives up way too many sacks. The offensive line gives up way too many plays for losses in the backfield. And if Casey plays another year as a starting quarterback at the University of Nebraska, he's going to take a lot of damage like he did this year. So why not be the backup quarterback, not have to take the damage, get yourself set up for the pros, take a year off, kind of take a secondary role, play a little bit of football, because you're going to get to play a little bit, because Jeff Sims isn't going to play every play. And you may end up being the starter, who knows. But if you watch the spring game, you saw that even these freshman defensive linemen were getting through to the quarterback in the spring game. So these freshmen were even penetrating the offensive line, the number one guys for the offensive line. So the offensive line has still got a lot of work to do. I know Matt Rule downplays it. He wants to build these guys up a little bit, but they got a long way to go. So being a second string quarterback at the University of Nebraska, I think it's a good place to be. Let alone the fact that not only does he get a few reps to show everybody what he can do, he saves his body for what he really wants to do, which is get a pro position with the team, get drafted by the pros. And the other thing is he gets a chance to kind of be with Matt Rule and coaching. So if I were a young quarterback playing football right now, I'd be thinking maybe if I don't make the pros, which is very slim, most guys don't make the pros or they don't play a very long career, it's definitely not something that's going to set you up for the rest of your life. Why not, start working on a resume for coaching? And of course, what a better time to do that as a secondary player for the University of Nebraska quarterback. You could start building your coaching resume with Matt Rule, and then you could start to be somebody, get a few reps in, and have people start noticing you if you want to get drafted by the pros. So he's in an ideal situation. I don't know why he'd want to mess that up. I wouldn't want to mess that up. I think he's in the greatest situation you could be in. I wouldn't want to be in any other situation what he's in. A second string quarterback at a University of Nebraska where if they turn this program around this year, he'll be part of that. He can be part of that huge amount of success and get a chance to be the backup guy and not beat up his body like Tom Brady. I mean, being a second string quarterback didn't hurt Tom Brady. So Tom Brady didn't get beat up in the college ranks. And he did pretty well in the pros. So, there's something to be said for not getting a lot of, damage in college. And Casey Thompson's already probably gotten enough damage. So I think Casey's in a perfect position. And second string quarterback, don't mess that up. Just stay there in Nebraska. Don't leave and go someplace else. You got 1 year left. What are you going to do in 1 year? And who are you going to go to? I mean, people say Auburn, some of these other schools. You got to learn their system on the fly because it's already fall. Maybe a little summertime, maybe a little in the spring, in the fall there. You're going to get a few reps in before the season starts, but you're not getting much. And you got to learn somebody's entire new system. So he stays at Nebraska. He earns a lot of loyalty with the fans. And he gets to play a little bit and may get to play a lot. He gets to learn, he gets to get close to the coach Rule, and he gets what a lot of these players, are living on right now, which is just the admiration of the fans at the University of Nebraska. So he'll get that fan appreciation. And not only that, people will admire him for that decision. People will admire him for staying with Nebraska. And I think that's worth way more than 1 year of college football someplace else. And when you look at and weigh and balance, if he goes someplace else and has a bad year, he hurts himself. He stays at the University of Nebraska, plays backup. He's already had a pretty good year with Trey Palmer. People know he can throw the ball and he's pretty accurate with it. So his stock is already as good as it's going to get. I don't think he's going to do much better going someplace else and playing. So Casey Thompson, please stay at the University of Nebraska. I think that's the best place for you. And if you think about your career, I think it's the best place for your career too. And the other thing I'd like to say in regards to this is a lot of people are probably starting to think that college football is never going to be the same. Because you have players that they change schools just like, you change a t-shirt or you change a pair of pants or a pair of socks. They just switched from one program to another program to another program. And people say they just don't feel there's any loyalty in college football anymore because everybody's thinking about their own career. They're thinking about what I want to do. I want to go to the pros, and the only way to go to the pros is if I get to be a starter, and I get a lot of reps. And so if I don't make the first team, I'm going to go to another school. So it's about me, not about the team. But the problem is most of these guys are going to learn real quick that if the team doesn't do well, you don't do well. It's like Garrett Nelson last year. I mean, I like Garrett Nelson. He comes from the same area as Nebraska that I'm from, but they had a fairly bad season last year, losing season, didn't go to a bowl game, wasn't anything dramatic. He goes into the pros and he didn't get drafted. Although sounds like he may get picked up by a team. But, if Nebraska would have had a turnaround season last year and Nelson would have done, they would have done a little bit better win-wise, even if he would have had the same amount of time or same amount of sacks and tackles behind the line of scrimmage, all that stuff, he probably would have gotten drafted, or maybe gotten drafted by some team, simply because he was on a winning team. Being on a winning team, I think, gives you a lot more. It gives you a lot more notice by the professional. You're on a winning team. You have an attitude of a winner. You come from a winning program. You come from a place where you're used to winning. That has a lot to do with who these guys are looking at when they decide to pick players out of the draft. Coming from a losing program, they just think these people get used to losing. I think that's why Deion Sanders is getting rid of most of his football team. He doesn't want that mentality on his football team. they were a poor football team last year. He doesn't want to be a poor football team this year, so he's letting everybody go, or wanting them to go into the portal or get rid of them, start over again, because he doesn't want that losing mentality. So I think the pros are that way too. They don't want kids that have or young men that have a losing mentality. They want people that are winners, that are used to winning. When they step on the football field, they want to win. They know they're going to win. They think that, they feel that, and they perform that way. So these players got to realize if they're going to get drafted high, or if they're going to get drafted, they're going to have to start winning some football games and quit worrying about, hey, I got to get them in the first team and I got to get a lot of reps, and if I don't, I'm going to head off to another school, because that doesn't make any difference. I mean, you can go to another school and if you have the same problem you have at the previous school, which is you don't win a lot of games, you're not really helping your situation out. So I think Casey Thompson would serve himself well to stay at the University of Nebraska and not think about another school. It sounds like, I heard of somebody today talk about it, that he may come back out of the portal if nothing materializes. Now, it could be that somebody has talked to him and said, hey, we want you here, and try to strike up some sort of deal with him. That could be. And if that's the situation, well then, you'll probably hear about it pretty quickly. But, I don't see any problem going into the portal, testing the waters like this. They had a wide receiver that did that last year. Garcia, I think his name is. He's got like triple names, three names. But he went in the portal, and then he ended up bouncing back to Nebraska. I think Casey Thompson could do the same thing. I think that would be a good idea for him to bounce back to the University of Nebraska and not be in the portal, especially for just 1 year. He's got 1 year left. What's he going to do in 1 year that he hasn't already done in the last 5 years in college? So anyway, I appreciate you watching. Thank you.